So today I wanted to make a video about my first week transitioning back to the carnivore diet. I wanted to talk about what was hard, what helped me work through things, and I want to give you an update on how my weight is going. If you don't know me, my name is Echo and I create content about how a normal, everyday, average person can work through their problems, work through their struggles, and still see great results. So let's get to work. Okay, let's start with what is hard, because when you're transitioning back to something, whatever it is, there is some difficulty there because there's negativity left over from feeling like you failed before, and there's all this pressure that you want to be perfect. But this time, instead of saying I am starting the carnivore diet or I am restarting the carnivore diet, I said I am transitioning to the carnivore diet. And changing my vocabulary to transitioning allowed me to have a little bit of grace when it felt that I wasn't being perfect. And so this week I wasn't perfect. I spent 5 days doing very strict carnivore, and I did 2 days where I ate what I consider ketovore. And for that, I mean, on day 3, I had some artichoke dip. It was like a Parmesan jalapeno artichoke dip. And then the same thing on day 6, I had the Parmesan artichoke dip. And the first day I had it with some pork rinds, and on day 6 I actually had it kind of like a salad, and I cut up some chicken and I threw some bacon in there with it. And so while the dip is definitely not carnivore, it would be considered keto, and it is also a low carb, on the lower carb side. And so I felt comfortable saying there were 2 days that I did ketovore. And in the past, I would have been like, oh, I tried and I failed and it didn't work out. I wanted to stick to strict carnivore and it didn't work. But telling myself that I was transitioning allowed me to be like, okay, so I had 2 days that I ate ketovore. That is still better than I have been eating in the past. And so I considered thinking of transitioning to carnivore a goal for me, but I had to understand that my transition to strictly carnivore will look different than other people's transitions. So the second thing that was really hard this week was experiencing food envy. And I should expect food envy when people are eating things that I want to eat and I know that I am not going to eat them. But just because I know that it's going to happen didn't mean that I was fully prepared for it this week. So the situation is I attend a writers group on Fridays. And the writers group is at this little cafe. And it's not really even a cafe. It's kind of like a coffee shop. It's like a coffee shop that sells paninis and wraps and Italian sodas and ice cream. And that's basically their menu. So there isn't really anything that I could get that is like carnivore friendly. And so I started experiencing the food envy before I even went to this, before I even went to my writers, I guess it would be a club, before I went to my writers club. I was like angry, and then I was like, well, how am I going to handle this? Because normally I just cave and have ice cream, and I am not going to do that today. And thinking that I wasn't going to do that and that other people were going to be there eating that food made me envious. And so my idea was that I was going to stop at McDonald's and eat some delicious meat cookies. And so I stopped at McDonald's, and in the parking lot of the cafe, I was sitting there eating meat cookies. And so when I went in, I was actually pretty full. And I thought that would really help, but I still felt that I wanted those things. I felt like I was missing out. And so watching people eat the ice cream or eat the paninis or have the wonderful Italian sodas that were piled high with cream, I felt jealous because I was like, oh, I wish I could have those. Personally, what did I learn from this thing? I learned that eating beforehand didn't really make a bunch of difference. I know people will say, well, eat before you go. But eating before, even though I was full, didn't help me not feel that jealousy around food. Luckily, this upcoming Friday is Black Friday, and so I have like 2 weeks that I have to think about how I'm going to handle this situation the next time I encounter it. What worked this week? So this week, I really changed the way I thought about time, because historically I have always thought about times in the terms of a day. And so this week I broke it down and I thought about it in little increments. I actually made a video celebrating my first 24 hours back on Carnivore and just celebrating the little things, being excited about the little things, being excited about 24 hours. That was what I worked on. I worked on changing the way I thought about time. And another thing that I changed was I really changed the way I talked to myself. I tried to change my inner monologue because a lot of my inner monologues in the past were me just going to war with myself. You want to eat this food? Oh, no, you don't. Yes, you do. You want to eat this food. You want to eat it. You want to eat it so bad. And I would just war with myself like that over and over. And this time, instead of warring with myself like that, I decided, you know what? You're just going to have to work through things. That led to having some interesting internal conversations that I think will be really helpful. In fact, one of those conversations that I had actually changed the way that I'm going to approach Thanksgiving in the upcoming week because my jerk brain was telling me, you know what? Thanksgiving is on this Thursday. You might as well quit now because you already know that you're going to mess up. And actually sticking with it this week has changed the way that I have decided to handle Thanksgiving. Hopefully I have a new trick that will help me. I guess it's not a trick because a mindset shift isn't really a trick. A mindset shift is changing the way you think so that you can better handle the situation and better be equipped when something you know is going to happen happens. Because I already know kind of how my Thanksgiving will go. We already know the situations that we will be in. But I really liked having those conversations with myself that was not going to war, not arguing with myself. I'm going to continue talking things out with my inner self, mentally working things out. Okay, this is probably the part that you are the most curious about. So how did my first week transitioning back to Carnivore go? So first I need to update you on my weight. When I started, I weighed myself last Monday and I weighed 235.6. Yes, I know that my weight went up from my 35-day video. It went up because I spent a month trying to get back on track. And honestly, for a month of trying to get back on track and a whole bunch of false starts, I feel like five-ish pounds is not too bad. I have had way worse. Believe me when I say, like, between Halloween and New Year's last year was way worse. This morning when I weighed myself, I weighed 231 pounds. That is a week total of 4.6 pounds. And I am super happy with that number because I am trying, like, in my heart of hearts, I will say that when you get back on track, you hope for a giant number. You hope, but really your first couple weeks isn't a real reflection of weight that you are losing. It is a reflection of inflammation that you are losing and water loss that you are losing. And so 4.6 pounds is amazing. Even though I am reporting on what my weight is and what my weight loss was, I want to get in the habit of changing the way I think about weight. And because this is a number, it is a gauge to tell me how things are going. And so it is telling me that even though I wasn't as strict as like somebody who is 100% hardcore carnivore, it still worked for me. Like, I'm still going in the right direction. And that is what I want. I want to continue going in that direction. That was my first week transitioning back to Carnivore. All in all, I feel like the week went very well. It was very emotionally draining. Whenever you're getting back on track with something, it is emotionally draining. It takes a lot of work to stay back on track and to get back on track and to be kind to yourself while you're trying to do that process. And so I feel like for the first week transitioning back, it went very well. And I feel like I learned a lot of things about myself, like how strong food envy is. And those are things that, as I continue, are things that I will have to work through and find a way to handle them in the long term instead of being like, I'm just going to muscle through it and this is the way it should be. Because telling myself things like that in the past only really worked for so long. This time I want to find ways that will work for me in the long term to help me get where I want to be. And that might mean that I am not perfect in the beginning, that I am not as strict as some people are when they are just like, well, I'm doing that. I'm doing it cold turkey. I'm doing it hardcore. And you know what? I have done the cold turkey. I have done the hardcore. I have jumped right in way too many times. And so for myself, I know that when I do that, the results aren't what I want. I may be able to do that for a month. I may be able to, on some very rare occasions, do it for a month and 4 days. But in the long run, jumping all in does not serve me very well. And so this time I am going to allow myself to take those steps that I need to take to get where I want to be. And thinking that way will also make this upcoming week, which is a big week with Thanksgiving, go better. Once again, my name is Echo. Thank you for watching. Until the next time. Okay, bye.